That Tuesday morning, you have to go back 16 years to a conference room on the 40th floor of a glass tower in downtown Chicago, where Marcus Webb sat in an expensive suit and looked out at Lake Michigan and understood for the first time that he had built the wrong thing. Marcus grew up in Detroit, East Side, Chalmers Street, the kind of block where ambition was either a ticket out or a target on your back, depending on who was watching. His father worked the line at Ford for 31 years. His mother taught third grade at Southeastern High School for 28. They were the kind of parents who told their children that the world owed you nothing and you owed the world your best work, and those two facts together were all the philosophy you needed. Marcus was sharp, everyone knew it, got a full scholarship to University of Michigan, studied business, graduated with honors, went straight into corporate supply chain management at 22, and spent the next 15 years being the smartest person in rooms that did not always want a man who looked like him to be the smartest person in the room. He was good at it anyway, made vice president at 34, had the title and the salary and the 40th floor view and the company car and the specific exhaustion of a man who has been performing for other people's comfort for 15 years and is running out of whatever it takes to keep doing it. He resigned on a Thursday afternoon, shook hands with his CEO, drove back to Detroit that same night, slept in his childhood bedroom at his parents' house on Chalmers Street, and in the morning he sat at his mother's kitchen table and wrote down what he actually wanted to build. Industrial supply, the unglamorous backbone of manufacturing, the nuts and bolts and fittings and safety equipment that kept Detroit's remaining factories running. He had spent 15 years in supply chain. He understood the gaps. He understood what small and mid-sized manufacturers needed and were not getting from the big national distributors who treated Detroit like an afterthought. He leased a small warehouse on Gratiot Avenue, used his savings, hired 4 people from the neighborhood, opened Webb Industrial Supply on a Monday morning in 2002 with a handshake philosophy. You call us, we answer. You need it today, we find it today. You're a small shop and the big guys ignore you, we don't. Detroit remembered. Detroit responded. By year 3, he had 12 employees and a reputation that spread through the manufacturing community the way good reputations spread, quietly and completely. By year 10, he had 23 employees, a second warehouse, and contracts with 14 mid-sized manufacturers in the metro area. By year 22, he had built the thing he actually wanted to build, something real, something that employed people from the neighborhood where he grew up, something that his father drove past on the way to his doctor's appointments and pointed at from the car window. "That's my son's building," his father said every single time. His father had been saying that for 15 years. He said it right up until he died of a heart attack at 71, 8 months before the federal agents showed up. The competitor's name was Harland Group Industrial, based in suburban Troy, Michigan, owned by a man named Dennis Harlan who had inherited the business from his father and grown it through political connections and exclusive contracts rather than service or reputation. Harlan Group had been losing Detroit manufacturing clients to Webb Industrial for 6 years, losing them specifically and consistently because Webb answered the phone and Harlan did not. Dennis Harlan had tried to buy Webb Industrial twice. Marcus had declined twice, politely the first time, less politely the second time. What happened after the second decline took 11 months to fully execute. Harlan and Gaines met 4 times over 6 months. The meetings were not logged, the calls between them were not official, but they happened, and what came out of them was a federal tip filed through a business fraud reporting portal claiming that Webb Industrial had been falsifying product certifications and selling uncertified safety equipment to manufacturing clients. The tip was specific. It had documentation attached, documentation that had been manufactured by someone with enough technical knowledge to make it look real. It moved through the federal system the way false tips with political backing tend to move, faster than it should have, with fewer questions than it deserved. Marcus Webb did not know any of this when he walked out of his front door at 7:14 in the morning, but his lawyer did. Diane Osei had been Marcus Webb's attorney for 11 years, corporate law, contracts, property. She was 51 years old, Ghanaian American, and had the specific quality of a lawyer who wins not by being loud, but by being 3 steps ahead of everyone in the room at all times. She had received a call at 5:45 a.m. from a contact inside the federal building downtown. The call lasted 40 seconds. She was in her car by 5:52, at her office by 6:15, and by 6 a.m. she had filed an emergency motion in Eastern District Court for the Eastern District of Michigan, challenging the seizure order on 4 separate legal grounds, including procedural irregularity, insufficient probable cause, and evidence of politically motivated targeting. The motion landed on a judge's desk at 6:03 a.m. The agents arrived at Webb Industrial at 7:07 a.m. Diane was parking her car on Gratiot Avenue at 7:19 a.m. She walked through the small crowd of employees on the sidewalk, past Jade still filming, past Marcus still standing at the loading dock watching his inventory disappear, and stopped in front of the lead agent. "I am Diane Osei, attorney for Marcus Webb and Webb Industrial. I have filed an emergency motion in Eastern District this morning challenging this seizure order on 4 separate legal grounds, including procedural irregularity, insufficient probable cause, and evidence of politically motivated targeting." The agent looked at the document, looked at Diane, looked at his phone. He made a call, stepped away. The other agents kept moving. Diane stood on the loading dock with Marcus. He looked at her, she looked at him. She said, "I filed at 6, they got here at 7, we have time." Jade's video hit social media at 8:15 a.m., 11 minutes of footage. Federal agents loading a black-owned Detroit business into trucks while the owner stood outside and his employees watched. The video was clear, the audio was clear. Marcus's voice asking to see documentation was clear. The agent telling him to step back was clear. By noon, it had 8 million views. By 3 p.m., it had 19 million. By that evening, every Detroit news station was running it, and 3 national outlets had picked it up. The comments did what comments do, but the ones from Detroit were different, from people who bought from Webb Industrial, from manufacturers who called on a Saturday and got Marcus Webb himself on the phone, from employees past and present, from people who grew up on Chalmers Street and East Jefferson and Gratiot Avenue and recognized what this business meant to the neighborhood it came from. The federal judge reviewed Diane's motion at 2 p.m. By 4 p.m., she had a ruling. The seizure was suspended pending full evidentiary hearing. The order had been issued on the basis of documentation that showed significant irregularities upon closer examination. The FBI field office was directed to secure but not transport any seized materials pending the hearing. The truck stopped loading at 4:17 p.m. What came out over the next 6 weeks was what Diane had suspected from the first call at 5:45 a.m. The tip had originated from a server registered to a consulting firm with documented ties to Harlan Group. The documentation attached to the tip had been manufactured. 2 of the product certification numbers referenced in the tip had never existed. The FBI agent who processed the tip had done so without completing standard verification protocols. His personnel file showed 3 previous meetings with Councilman Robert Gaines logged as community outreach. The FBI opened an internal investigation. The U.S. Attorney's Office opened a separate investigation into Harlan and Gaines. Dennis Harlan was indicted for filing a false federal report, conspiracy to deprive a citizen of property rights, and bribery of a public official. Robert Gaines resigned from City Council on a Wednesday morning and was indicted the following Monday. Marcus Webb filed a civil lawsuit against Harlan Group, Dennis Harlan personally, and the federal agency whose agent had processed the fraudulent tip without verification. The lawsuit sought damages for the seizure, for business interruption, and for what Diane Osei argued in her opening brief was a coordinated attempt to use federal law enforcement as a private weapon against a black business owner by white competitors with political connections. The case went to trial 14 months later in United States District Court, Eastern District of Michigan. Courtroom 6.
Wood paneling. American flag. A judge named Patricia Holloway, who'd been on the federal bench for 24 years and had never once, in those 24 years, seen a case quite like this one. Diane Osei presented everything. 11 years of Webb Industrial's clean record, the fraudulent tip, the manufactured documentation, the connection between Harlan, Gaines, and the agent who processed it. Jade's video played in full in a federal courtroom. 11 minutes and 40 seconds of a man standing outside his business, watching it be taken and asking to see documentation and being told to step back. The jury deliberated for 9 hours. They found for Marcus Webb on all counts. The damages awarded were the largest in the history of the Eastern District of Michigan in a case of this type. Harlan Group Industrial was ordered to pay. Dennis Harlan personally was ordered to pay. The federal agency settled separately in an amount that was not disclosed, but that Diane Osei described in a single word when a reporter asked her about it outside the courthouse. "Sufficient," she said, and walked to her car. The ruling established legal precedent that using false federal reports as a competitive business weapon constituted a civil rights violation under federal law, that politically motivated targeting of a business owner through fraudulent federal action was actionable regardless of whether the targeting agency knew the tip was false. Lawyers across the country read the ruling the week it was published. 3 law schools included it in their curriculum within the year. Marcus used the settlement to do 3 things. He expanded Webb Industrial Supply, opened a second location on the west side of Detroit, hired 12 new employees from the neighborhood. He established the Webb Industrial Foundation, a fund providing startup capital and legal support to Black-owned small businesses in Detroit facing predatory competition or municipal pressure. And he bought the building on Gratiot Avenue, not leased, bought, full ownership, his name on the deed. Because he had learned something on the morning 3 white government trucks backed up to his loading dock that he already knew but now knew differently, that what you own they cannot take, and what you build with your own hands and your own name is worth whatever it costs to defend it. Jade still films. She became a documentary filmmaker. Her first film was about that Tuesday morning on Gratiot Avenue. It played at 3 film festivals, won 2 awards. The opening shot is 11 seconds of a man standing completely still outside his business while everything inside it moves around him. Not scared, not broken, just still, waiting for the thing he knows is coming. His father never got to see any of it, but Marcus drives past the building on Gratiot Avenue sometimes in the evenings when the day is done, parks across the street, looks at it the way his father used to look at it from the car window. "That's my building," he says. Nobody is in the car with him. It does not matter. Some things you say because they are true, and because saying them out loud is the only way to make sure you never forget what it cost to make them true. If this story hit you, share it with someone who is building something right now and needs to hear it. Subscribe for more stories about people who do not stop. And drop a comment. Tell me about something you built that someone tried to take. First person to comment gets pinned.